I'm Deanna Springer with a fun Stitch It Sisters project featuring an OESD embroidery design and 3 OESD stabilizers. First, let's welcome our Stitch It Sisters guest, Karie Coffey, Director of Marketing and Education for Oklahoma Embroidery Supply and Design. Welcome back to Stitch It Sisters, Karie.
Thank you, Deanna. It's so great to be back here again with Team NZP and Stitch It Sisters. Today, I'm going to show you how to make a origami gift box with your embroidery machine.
Let's take a closer look at the project we're making today. We'll be stitching an in-the-hoop freestanding origami gift box with OESD's Aquamesh stabilizer, OESD's Badge Master wash-away stabilizer, OESD's Stable Stick cutaway stabilizer, OESD's Luxe Sparkle Vinyl, Schmet size 90 gold titanium embroidery needles, and our Bernina B790 Plus sewing machine. Let's take a close-up look at the project we're making today.
Great. Today we're going to be making the origami gift box. So it is made with 4 panels completely done in the embroidery machine hoop, and then you just take a simple zigzag and stitch it together to create the 3-dimensional gift box.
It's amazing how it all comes together, and it's all stitched in the hoop. And it's a collection, an OESD embroidery collection.
It is. And so this collection will have 3 sizes available. Today we are going to be making the largest one, but it is available in 3 sizes. And we used our OESD Luxe Sparkle Vinyl, which comes in over a dozen colors now, and all sorts of other wonderful OESD products that we'll be talking about a little bit later.
And you used a little bit of cotton quilting fabric on the inside. So we all have that in our stash too.
We do.
It looks difficult. When we first started collaborating on this project, I thought, Karie, this looks really difficult, but it's not. You've broken it down and just 4 panels. It looks like it's even more than that, but
it's a very simple project. It's really a great project for beginners. All of our collections include a full color PDF that you can either view on your tablet or computer or print out, and that will walk you through all the steps. So if you don't have us on video with you in your sewing room, you can use that PDF and it'll take you through all the steps. It's very simple to do.
And those PDF instructions are included with each design collection. You can buy this online too. You can buy your design collections online.
Yes, you have it at stitchitsisters.com. You can find it at your local OESD retailer or by going to embroideryonline.com.
So when you download your designs, you also can download the instructions PDF. And like you said, keep it on your computer, your tablet, or print it out. So it's very handy, and it's step by step. With photos and illustrations, you guide us right through the process of making this, including how to cut the fabrics.
Yes, so each size has its own cutting instructions, so you know exactly what to cut for the fabric, for the lining. And our wonderful OESD education team spends a ton of time making sure these instructions make it as easy as possible for you to have success at home.
Wonderful. We so much appreciate that. And this, like we showed in the beginning, goes together as a box. We're making a gift box, and then it interlocks for closing, but the sides are not sewn together, but rather are button and loop, and we'll show you that too. But let's start with stabilizer. What are the first steps to making this, Karie?
So with an in-the-hoop project or a freestanding applique project like this, choosing the correct stabilizer is even more important than on a regular embroidery project.
So like your jacket. Your jacket is a different method of stabilizing the fabric. This is unique.
Yes, this is very important. You can't really substitute too many things, because if you substitute something for wash-away stabilizer, for example, you'll have stabilizer instead of a nice freestanding box. So luckily, you don't have to choose what stabilizer to use. That is outlined very clearly in the instructions. And so today we are going to be using our Aquamesh stabilizer, our Badge Master stabilizer, and then Stable Stick cutaway. In this case, the Stable Stick cutaway is actually not used as a stabilizer. It's used as a fabric prep, which is a little bit different.
Yeah, that was impressive to me. It's a great idea.
Yeah.
So we should get started and show how you make this.
Let's do that. So the very first thing that you're going to do, and that you would do with any project, is to select your hoop. So it's very important that you select the correct hoop for your project. We have two examples here. The design would actually fit in this hoop here, but I've chosen to use the Bernina midi hoop today because of its ratcheting system. It's just a lot easier to use. So today we're going to be using the midi hoop, but you always want to select a hoop that your design will just fit in. You don't want to have a giant hoop because A, you'll waste stabilizer, and B, your design has more opportunity to shift and move in the hoop. So you always want to select a hoop that is going to be as close to the size of your embroidery as possible.
Good tip. And sometimes these come with the machine. So this is the Bernina large hoop that comes.
The Bernina large
with the
oval
machine.
would come.
And this is the add-on. And I really love the features of.
This is a must-have for sure. So the very first thing we're going to do is we are going to hoop our stabilizer. So we talked about that we were using Aquamesh and Badgemaster, and so I have a sheet of each of these here. We get asked a lot which stabilizer goes first in the hoop, and it really doesn't matter, but I tend to put the Badgemaster, that's this sort of, it almost looks like vinyl.
It looks like clear plastic, a sheet of clear plastic, but it's not.
It's magic. It's a starch that has been formed into a sheet in some sort of magical factory. Yes. Right. I tend to put that on top. I feel it just seems natural to me, and also it won't stick to the base of your embroidery machine. So you have a sheet of Aquamesh and a sheet of Badgemaster. The reason you're using one of each of these is that when you're making a freestanding anything, you always need, this is a hard and fast rule. I don't say that there's must-dos on a lot of things, but you always need 2 layers of a water-soluble stabilizer.
So wash away. Like in our stabilizer smarts video we did, we talk about the different categories of stabilizer. And these are both in that wash away category.
They sure are. And the reason you need 2 layers, in this case we have one of 2 different kinds, is that there are so many stitches in a freestanding lace or freestanding applique project that if you don't stabilize enough, you will often find that the pieces don't line up when you rinse out, and you will not be a happy camper.
So be
always 2 layers.
And 2 layers.
Yes, and in this case, we use 1 layer of Aquamesh and the Badgemaster because there is more starch in this. So when you rinse this out, this is going to leave more residue, which in this case is good because it leaves, it helps create more stiffness.
A stand-up gift box.
Yes, we don't want to lay down gift box.
It's beefy.
Yeah.
It's beefy. And so, you hoop both of these pieces in the hoop at one time.
You sure do. So you would just take your hoop and you would just hoop those 2 together. And then you would make sure that's nice and secure. You can use the ratchet if you have this hoop. And then we're ready to start.
Terrific. So here comes the fun part.
Yes. The next step would be, and this again is outlined in your instructions, is to stitch what we call a placement stitch. So your first step of the machine is going to stitch this kind of interesting shape.
Right, it's like the first thread change.
Yes, so it will stitch, if you're not familiar with machine embroidery, the way that a module and machine embroidery works is that it will stitch the first color or machine step and it will stop. And it says, what am I going to do next?
So it's fail-proof.
Yes.
And you do attach this to your module. So once you hoop the 2 stabilizers, you attach this to your embroidery module.
Yep, and I'm going to leave this here, but I'll show you. The next thing you're going to do is you're actually going to prep the fabric that we're going to use. So we are going to use our OESD Luxe Sparkle Vinyl, and that's a really unique product. So this is a little piece of it that we're going to use, and it is a sparkle vinyl, as the name indicates, but the difference between this and some other vinyls on the market is that it is a woven backed product.
It's fabric. It feels like fabric, and it's drapey, and it's not stiff.
Yeah, it's wonderful. You can press it. It can be laundered. You can do stitch and turn with it. We've actually done quilt blocks with it. So if you want to get real jazzy, you
treat it like fabric.
Treat
it like fabric.
But
it's so innovative, and you have over a dozen colors.
Yeah, they're beautiful. You see them all together. You can see, though, it doesn't have enough stiffness to stand up on its own.
So it's not ready for us
It's not ready. The other thing we're going to use is just quilting cotton, and we all know what quilting cotton is like. You know, beautiful, high quality, however, not stiff.
Right. This is just a Benartex Basic that coordinates with our purple
purple
Luxe,
girl.
yeah.
There's, yeah. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to take the stable stick cutaway, and I cut pieces of that are the same size as our Luxe Sparkle Vinyl and our quilting cotton.
So this is the outside of the gift box and the inside of the gift box.
So you're going to take this stable stick cutaway and you are going to apply it to the back of this product. And this is just a paper backed.
So this isn't the stabilizer.
Get rid of that.
Yep. Get rid of that.
We just throw it over our shoulder. And so it just sticks. And it doesn't have to be exactly perfect, because as long as this piece is bigger than this, that's all we need.
Great.
Yes. So we would do that for both pieces.
Okay.
And then we're going to take our backed piece, which you can see now is...
Oh, it's a little bit more stiff, and that way, that also ensures that your gift box is a stand-up gift box.
Exactly. We do not want lay-down gift boxes. So this would be, we're going to actually have two thicknesses because we have the cotton that's been backed as well. So we're going to take that and we will lay it over the placement stitch. And
making sure that you're covering,
very
covering all those stitches, and it's just the right size, because that's the size you tell us to cut in the instructions.
Exactly. We did all the hard work for you ahead of time. Then you will take a piece of our OESD tearaway tape, and you will just tape that in place so it doesn't shift while embroidering.
Right. This, you wouldn't want to use pins here. Your tape works really well just to hold that in place.
Yep. So then your machine will stitch its next step. And the next step is what we call a tack down stitch. So it's called what it is. So you can see there is 2 rows of stitching. The reason that our digitizers, who are just amazing, have created it this way is that we're now going to trim away the excess of this sparkle vinyl. And if you cut through those stitches, you don't want it to pull away from where it needs to stay.
Right, it would just kind of come off from the stabilizer.
Exactly. Sort of a security thing. It's like, you know, when you're wearing your fancy bracelet and it has that security clasp on it.
Right.
That is to keep it from going into the middle.
Great.
So we are now going to trim away the outside of the sparkle vinyl.
So to trim the extra fabric away, you'd remove this from the machine.
Yes, very important. Leave it in the hoop.
Always leave it in the hoop.
Yes, so you're taking it away off of your machine. There are some people who are very skilled at trimming on their machine. I think that's more trouble than it's worth. So you just remove your hoop, put it on a nice flat surface so you don't by accident pop it out of the hoop. Though if you did, there are many magical placement tools to recover, but it'd be a lot easier if you didn't.
Sure. And what do you cut this away with? Do you have favorite scissors you like to use?
I have a couple, of course. We have a wonderful OESD scissor set, which has 3 different scissors and some accessories. And in this case, I use the straight scissors and the curved scissors. So I use both for this.
Maybe the straight when your stitching lines are straight, and when you get into that curved area, that's exactly when you want that curved scissors.
And when you get into this little part, I find the curved scissors are easier. So you're just going to take your scissors and trim away the excess.
And the next sample, I think, shows that.
It sure does. So after you trim, it looks like that.
It's beautiful. We've only are a couple steps in, and it's just so beautiful, and it looks like twice the work that you've already done.
Yep. But it's really very simple. So after we have this, we're going to take our hoop off the machine, right? And we are going to flip the hoop over. And we place our...
Oh, there's that quilting cotton.
Exactly. And this piece is backed in that stable stick, like we talked about. And then we will stitch that same process again.
So you've taped that cotton quilting fabric to the underside of the hoop.
Yep.
And then you taped it down, and then you turned it back over and put it back in your machine and stitched around again. You can't really tell that you've done that, but from the back side, I can see those stitches.
Exactly. And then essentially we just repeat that process. So we're going to trim this off, and then it ends up looking like this. Right? So now we have, and you can imagine this is the inside of the box. And the outside of the box.
So we're lining the gift box in just quick, easy steps. And you're not changing thread at this colors at this point. You're just advancing the stitching.
Exactly. We I've done this in one color. You don't really need to be concerned about color other than sort of coordinating until we get to our next step. And the great thing is that you could do this with the Luxe Sparkle vinyl, or you can make cotton on the outside. You can really do it in whatever you have in your stash. Also, the sides don't even need to match.
Right, for the fabric.
Yep.
And what thread are you using?
So we're using Isocord. We have some of it here. Isocord is a beautiful embroidery thread. And something to note about this project, and it will say this in the instructions, you're going to match the top and the bobbin. So in this case, you don't need to use bobbin thread because you want a more even stitch. The satin, you want to look just as good on the front and the back. So you're going to just wind your bobbin with the same color thread that you have on the top.
That's a good tip.
Yeah, something that can be easily forgotten until you've realized,
right,
it's a little funny.
Right.
Will still work.
It will work.
Yes.
Because the stitches, we're going to continue stitching. This isn't it.
No, there's still more. So the next step is going to be that satin stitch. You can see now there is a satin stitch that is stitched all the way around.
It's beautiful.
Same color on the front and the back. And then there's one last color change here. It is just a little something extra. I love how our digitizers add just a little extra detail. So there's this bean stitch in a different color. And you certainly could do that in the same color, but I love that. Just subtle.
Right. It's like top stitching.
Yeah, exactly. And I love a top stitch. So you're going to repeat this process 3 times. So that's going to make the 3 sides.
3 panels.
Yep.
3 side panels.
Exactly.
And this same satin stitching also created those button and loops.
Yes.
That help us assemble the box later.
Exactly. And when we do that, we'll use our alligator clamps to make that very easy.
That's exciting.
Yes.
When you showed this to me, I was so thrilled with the technique you use.
Yep. So again, you can see how simple that is.
And it's already done on the back side.
Yep.
At the same time.
Exactly.
So this stitching is complete.
Yes.
So we would remove this from the hoop at this point?
Yep. So we would take this from the hoop. We'll do that here. Just simply pop it out. Give you that.
Thank you.
And then you're going to trim this. And we can use, there they are. You're going to trim this just...
So even though it's a wash away,
Yep.
we want to do some trimming away of the extra. Kind of like we trimmed away the extra fabric. Now we're trimming away the extra stabilizer.
So you would just trim. You'd be very careful you don't trim off your buttons. Ask me how I know that. And you would just trim as closely as you can without cutting your satin stitch. And you don't have to cut super close. It's just so that when you rinse this out, you don't have tons of excess stabilizer. You just don't need it.
So when you rinse, you cut the extra stabilizer away, and then do you rinse under the faucet or in a bowl? So
at OESD, we use just warm running water in the faucet. I always joke, people worry about there being, problems with your plumbing or something if you rinse the starch down the drain, and there really aren't. It's just starch, like pasta water or potato.
Or buying brand new clothing and putting it through the wash. That has starch in it.
Exactly. And if anyone was going to have plumbing problems, it would be the offices at OESD, and we have never had an issue with that. So you do what you're comfortable with, of course, but we just rinse under warm running water, just enough so that the stabilizer isn't visible anymore, because you do want to leave a little bit of that sort of starch in there.
Sure. That's great. Great tip. These are washaways, so it will liquefy that starch. And bring some stiffness to the project too.
And then you're just going to let it dry. So I have another important ask me how I know tip. When you let this dry, don't put it on a terry cloth towel, because there is so much starch in here that will turn to cement and cement itself to your towel.
It'll glue itself to your towel.
Exactly.
And then you have a furry segment section.
Yes, you do. And it's not super fun to get off. So I actually dry mine on cookie cooling sheets, just so to let air
flow. A cookie
rack.
rack.
Yes, exactly.
Right, a baking rack.
A baking rack.
Great tip.
I think it was thinking about cookies.
I know.
And let the air flow. And then you can just press these. We have a wonderful product called the OESD Perfect Press Cloth. You would press that from the fabric side down.
Once it's dry, leave it overnight. Then you have your press cloth, which is a lofty. It's a lofty. It feels like wool, but not quite.
Exactly. It is similar to a wool pressing mat. There's a couple of advantages of it. It's very reasonably priced, which is always a good thing. It's also not wool. So if you have a wool allergy, I know a lot of people do, you don't have to worry about that. I use this always to press my embroidery into. I press face down and it removes puckers and wrinkles. People ask what it's made of, and I say
lofty, so it won't crush your embroidery design.
Exactly. So you're going to press your panels into that.
You'll make 3 panels and also a base.
Exactly.
You'll need that base that you'll stitch as well. That triangle, I do. That triangle that's in the middle, it's a 3-sided gift box. So
exactly.
Those are the segments. It appears that these are separate, but that was stitched in one hoop application.
You saw we trimmed in between.
Yeah, don't cut that apart.
No, don't
Or you'll
do that.
be sewing it back together.
Yeah, which you could do. Wouldn't be the end of the world, but unnecessary. So then you're going to take it to your sewing machine or turn your embroidery machine back into a sewing machine. And you just set it for a wide zigzag, and matching this satin stitch thread, you're just going to zigzag each of these pieces onto here.
It disappears. The zigzag, you can't see the zigzag stitch. The thread is just beautiful, and it looks like piping.
Yeah, I just love the way that these came together. So once you have all 3 of those together, then comes the fun part, which is assembly. And this was the part that I think once you saw me do it, the light bulb went off, right? And this opens up a whole world of freestanding structures. OESD is very well known for our freestanding structures. We make houses, we make boxes, we make all sorts of fun things.
Lacework, votive
candle holders. So make sure to check those out at your local OESD retailer or Embroidery Online, or of course stitchitsisters.com. So we have, now we have our box. Right. So we have a great product called the OESD alligator clamps. So that is this fancy guy here, and you can see the little tip opens up.
Just the tip.
Yep. And the great part about this, and what makes these different than some things you may see at the medical supply store, you know, we hear all the stories of the things that people use, is that this tip is small enough to fit into these button loops without stretching them. And B, it only opens just down here. Right? Because if it opened any farther, this whole process wouldn't work. Exactly. And then we also have a really handy tool down here, which is our button clips. Put that there so we can see it. And you may say, what the heck do we do with that?
Looks like a tiny alligator.
Yes. So let's see if we can assemble this. So you are just going to push the tip of your alligator clamps through there, right? Just so you can open that up. And then you're going to grab the button. Yep. And my technique is I sort of pull and twist. So you just kind of wiggle it through. And if it doesn't work the first time, you just do it again. So.
It's like the covered buttons that I sewed like 100 of them onto my wedding dress.
Yes.
And the loops.
Yes.
Little tiny buttons.
Exactly.
And loops.
And that's in there. So that's great. You saw it, you know, it gets easier as you do them. Obviously, if you're doing it in a more natural position, it is easier.
Like you will be at home.
Yes. But you don't want that to come undone when you're doing the next one.
Right.
So that is where your button clips come in. So you can just place that.
Oh, it's like pinning without pins.
Exactly. So you would just place that on the button, and now it can't go back through. So as you progress, it will keep that from undoing as you go. And then when it's all done, you take those off. You don't,
you don't leave those on.
You don't leave them on. So you would just keep going.
Inserting through the loop.
Yep.
Grabbing onto the button.
Exactly.
Thread button.
The thread button.
It's like a thread button with a shank.
Yep. And ta-da! You can see it gets easier as you go. And then you would button.
Keep clipping and buttoning. And do that to the other 2 seams.
Exactly. And then that's it. It is a very, very simple process to do. It is a great project for people who want to do freestanding applique or 3-dimensional projects, but are afraid to start. Because it gives you such a wonderful finished product.
And the fabric, the sparkle, is so easy to sew with. You wouldn't think, you would think they may be difficult to work with, but not. No. There's regular embroidery needles will work just fine with that. And it's beautiful completely as the sparkle, but you can make this in different fabrics. You can make them in cottons.
You sure
and you
can.
have some of those.
I do. I have so many. There's so many different ways that you can make this. And I have those in, there's so many different things you can do. So this is the large size again, and this is with a cotton outside. And what we've actually done is we've added some embroidery to it. So
sure. It's like a blank canvas each side.
Yeah. So we've just, when you load your panel into the embroidery machine, as long as it's centered in the hoop and you don't move it around, you can stop at that step before you do the satin around the outside, go out, bring in another design, and embroider that, and then restart it.
As long as you leave it all in the hoop.
Exactly.
It will line up perfectly. And you just add that before you add that backing, that inner fabric.
Exactly. And in this one, we have a little special surprise on the inside. This box is full of hugs.
Right.
So you can gift someone.
Fill it with chocolates.
Yes. And even if it's empty, still full of hugs.
Right.
And then we have a beautiful houndstooth.
So is this the smallest?
This is the small size. Yep.
So here's the large size and then the small size.
And this one actually has sparkle vinyl on the inside, so a little jazzy surprise in there.
They're really reversible.
Yeah, that's very true. You can button it either way. So
because we use that embroidery thread in the bobbin as well as the top.
It's just as good from both sides. And then, let's see what else we have in the
under the magic slanty board.
Slanty board. Oh, how about this set?
Oh,
so this is I think a super high-end look. So we're going to show all three of these together.
And these are cotton quilting fabrics.
Exactly. Cotton both on the outside and inside.
So you could use a fat quarter collection.
You sure could.
And make coordinating gift boxes.
And we all have those piles of fat quarters we got that we just love. Here's a great way to use them. So this is the large and the medium, and then of course that small. And I think these look like $1 million.
They do.
This is such a high-end look. You could use this in your bathroom, put cotton balls and things in.
I like that idea.
They're just beautiful, and I think these came out so pretty.
They really did. They're gorgeous. So cotton quilting fabric sparkles. And this isn't your only collection. You have other collections that are a kind of stand up.
We do.
These are the origami boxes.
So this again is freestanding origami gift boxes. That's collection 12888. We also have a Valentine's themed collection. This is
a little bit different. Look at that. The top is 2 instead of 3.
So we've actually made this
four-sided instead of 3 sides. And this is really unique how this goes together. So now you get the idea how that was hooped.
Yep, so this is a little bit different, and we've just placed the sparkle vinyl on the ends of the hearts.
That's a great accent. You didn't use the sparkle vinyl for the entire project, but just an accent.
And these are a little bit different because it's no fun to have them all the same. These would be great for Valentine's Day, but also they just make me happy.
It's like a birthday box.
Yep, exactly. So this is our freestanding heart gift box collection.
Different collection.
Yep.
But similar and 4-sided if you're looking for a 4-sided gift box.
Done in exactly the same way. There's just an extra little flap part. But again, the PDF is going to walk you right through that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
These are just so beautiful and clever and fun to make, easy to make. I thought this looked like a difficult project, but your team really makes this easy for us.
Yeah, we want to make you as successful as possible at home. When we're not with you.
We're grateful for that. And the digitizing is always beautiful with
Our team
OESD.
is just amazing. Yeah.
Yes, great job. And thank you for coming on Stitch It Sisters and showing us these fun projects today, Karie.
It is always a pleasure to be here with Team NCP and Stitch It Sisters.
We hope you've enjoyed this Stitch It Sisters episode. You'll find the Stabilizer Bundle Box along with the OESD Stabilizer Quick Reference Printable at stitchitsisters.com. Be sure to tune in again for another Stitch It Sisters sewing adventure. In the meantime, connect with Stitch It Sisters and friends on our social sites. Stitch It Sisters is made possible by Bernina, Clover, Benartex Fabrics, June Taylor, OESD Oklahoma Embroidery Supply and Design, and shopnzp.com.
Bernina, made to create.